Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 6. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad to be back with you guys for this Friday show. Dave, football is back. The Hall of Fame game is in the books. The Steelers are 1-0, Super Bowl bound, I assume, beating the Cowboys 16-3 last night. We have so much to talk about. Man, I am so happy to talk about football instead of speculation or lists or what Skip Bayless is saying. Whatever the case is, we are talking about real, actual football.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing here. And boy, it didn't even bother me getting into the fourth quarter there and still kind of watching and identifying certain players that were in the game at the time. Now, any other team, it gets a little bit, because you don't really know how deep their rosters are. But how great was it to sit there and live tweet some NFL football? And it didn't take us too long. Matthew Marksey, Daniel Kitchens, and myself were in post-game form, able to rattle through all the press conferences and all like that. And the only thing keeping us behind schedule at this point is good old NFL Game Pass, I guess. I don't know what's going on there, but we have yet to. I mean, I've watched it through a second time already, albeit through the what do you call it? What do they call it?
DVR?
DVR, yeah. What all the kids use these days. I'm not used to it. I'm used to going back through on the computer, and fast forward and hotkeying that thing. So, until we get a good version of this to be able to slow it down and go through, we're going to talk about it from about a 30,000 foot angle, I guess. How's that for a long open?
Yeah, that's a heck of an open. But hey, 30,000 foot view is better than no view at all. And for people that don't know, Game Pass is the service that you can go back and rewatch games. It's terrible. It's broken. They'll maybe improve it. They probably won't. Anyway, let's talk about the game.
You still can't get on the U.S. side, you still can't get a version of that yet, to rewatch it in their player. And, they've redone all the whole interface. I mean, it's just horrible, man. And here we are with this. But as we always do at Steelers Depot, we'll manage.
Mm-hmm. And let's be happy because football's back.
Right.
The Steelers won. They got out relatively healthy. The only injury of note that Mike Tomlin announced post-game was Kalen Ballage with a lower body injury, so very much a hockey term there from Mike Tomlin. Don't know the extent of that. Hopefully it's not serious because Ballage had overall a pretty strong performance.
Yeah, he did. And, he was one of my 8 players, I think, non-rookies that I highlighted before the game there. And I thought, maybe a good chance because of where he was probably going to be suited at playing in this game. They might log a few snaps there and might end up have a chance of being one of the players that we might talk about the most in this one. And I thought he represented himself. Really, I thought the running game in general, Alex, overall wasn't bad. But Ballage, I thought took advantage of his rep opportunities. Obviously had the rushing touchdown in that game, and also had, I think, a short yardage situation. That one of the things that I think right after he was signed, one of the things that you went right to and highlighted was his ability. I think what did we pull? 19 of 27.
24. It was about 75% conversion rate on 3rd and 4th and short. I think it was 19 or 24, whatever the math is on that.
Right, on 3 yards or shorter. And so far in his NFL career, he's been good with that, and that aspect of it showed with him last night as well too. So Benny Snell obviously sat out this game with the undetermined injury right now, and I thought Ballage made the most of his snaps, and here's to him not being seriously hurt at all.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you want to approach this, Dave? Do you want to go through the highs and lows? You want to go through position by position? We didn't cover this in our extensive pre-production meeting, so shame on us. But how do you want to attack this game?
I think because of the way that because we haven't had a thorough second viewing of this thing yet via Game Pass, probably just by position group, I would think, and
Okay.
and who kind of stuck out on the 30,000 foot view, and then kind of go from there. I think that would be the best. And then look, obviously hopefully by Wednesday we will have this thing charted and watched 3 times each from different angles and all like that. So let's go with position groups.
All right, let's start with the quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph got the start, played into the second quarter. Dwayne Haskins took over, and then Josh Dobbs closed things out about how we expected things to go. I thought Rudolph played a little bit longer than I anticipated him to. I had that turnover, though, on the first drive that kind of shortened things up. Overall, with all 3 quarterbacks, I don't think any of the 3 were terrible. I don't know if any of the 3 were great. I thought Dobbs did play well, and his accuracy seems to have improved and taken a positive step forward. That's always been really critical for me. I thought Haskins did a good job with his progressions and knowing where his checkdown was at. And Rudolph, despite one bad throw behind James Washington, had that really nice downfield play to Chase Claypool, the biggest play on the night for the Steelers offense. So I thought all 3 quarterbacks were, in a word, fine.
They were, it was just kind of fine. Let's see. The snap breakdown was Rudolph 18, Haskins 24, and Dobbs 17. So not a bad split there. We kind of thought that Haskins would be the one to get the most snaps out of this thing, and he did. And the only bad thing about it is he didn't get the 2-minute opportunity that Mike Tomlin probably hoped to see there at the end. But he did open up the second half and play well into the second half there. Now, not that stats matter, blah, blah, disclaimer here, not that stats matter or anything, but Haskins' average air yards per attempt in this game on his attempts was just 4.0. His average yards per reception was just 0.75 yards. So his average completion percentage or distance past the line of scrimmage was not even a yard past the line of scrimmage. There was a lot of checkdowns for lack of a better word, right? A lot of very, very, very short completions for him. Rudolph on the other end of it here, if I can find my stats on this, Rudolph's average air yards per attempt was 8.7. His average air yards per completion was 7.8. Obviously, that's going to be aided by the huge completion down the field to Chase Claypool down the left side. He probably should have had another completion in that game early there. Went off the hands of Claypool. Was a little out in front of him, but I think Claypool's got to make that catch there. And then Dobbs, I think his numbers were somewhere like 4 point something and 3.9 or around in there. Personally, outside of the bad handoff, which looked like the timing was just way off. It looked like Claypool was pretty well way past Rudolph when he come out of center and try to hand that off. But I mean, he took the blame for that, so we'll give him the blame for that. Outside of that, the throw behind James Washington. Personally, I thought Rudolph had the better game from the quarterback position, but it wasn't leaps and bounds better. I did really like the throw by Dobbs to Tyler Simmons on the touchdown on that whole timing thing right there. But I don't think any of the 3. I don't think were leaps and bounds great. But I would have Rudolph just ahead of the rest of them just by a hair.
Right, for that big play, that big completion to Claypool. Yeah, all 3 I thought overall managed the game well. There weren't any egregious errors aside from the botched, jet sweep play to Chase Claypool, which will be some of the growing pains of that Matt Canada, offense. It's going to feature a ton of motion, a ton of that window dressing, and you get some big plays off of that. You'll get some frustrating plays off of that as well.
If Claypool doesn't get kind of hung up there, that might be a home run there, it just looked like he didn't, last minute they're kind of stumbling or whatnot. If he'd been a little bit maybe cleaner You probably could have called pass interference on that. I don't know. I haven't seen enough angles of it yet there, but maybe that one ends up in the end zone there.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a fine showing and a good first step forward for that whole group. And I guess it's a good time to talk about Canada's offense just as a whole. He felt that, I think the motion kind of went away later in the game, but certainly out of the gate, I mean, very heavy motion. We'll chart and get the exact numbers on that, but you certainly have that flavor of the Canada offense, and it was stuff very, very similar to the things that I've observed so far in training camp.
It did look a little clunky at times, though, right?
Mm-hmm. And it will, yeah.
And especially the timing. Did you just view the timing off on that fumble? Because it looked like Claypool was, past Mason when he's trying to get him that ball. It felt like the whole timing was off. Maybe Mason was a tick slow coming out from under center because all that, that many moving parts, man, it's got to be bang bang, and it was not. And Claypool was pretty much past him at that time, and Rudolph tried to jam it in there, and the ball ends up on the ground. And those kind of things obviously can't happen. But there were like two other, I think, motion plays where I thought, man, it just got that clunkiness to it, timing being off.
Right, and Claypool hasn't even taken many of those actual plays in camp. I mean, a couple, maybe two or three, and I don't even know if that one of those came from Mason Rudolph. So, again, things that have to get worked out, things you have to avoid, but, it's not a big surprise considering some of the newness of this stuff for the Matt Canada-led offense. But Dave, this team was 23rd in motion rate last year. They will not be 23rd in motion rate this year. They will be top 10, I think, at the least, maybe even top 5. So you're going to see a lot of that pre-snap in this offense.
Absolutely, and a lot of under center too. I don't know how many exactly there were. We'll obviously have those numbers by Wednesday. I already sent the setup chart to Tom Mead, so he should have that back here fairly soon. As soon as he gets a copy of the game going here on that. So saw some under center. I didn't pay too much. How much play action did you see? I didn't. It's another thing that we have yet to chart to go back through. But I remember seeing some play action in there, so that's another good positive.
Yeah, we'll get the numbers probably over the weekend on those. So some we saw. I don't want to put an exact number to because I know we're going to have the exact number soon. But yeah, I mean, again, you're going to see an uptick on all three of those fronts under center.
Don't you hate working with incomplete data like this and
it's the worst.
And one full time through? I mean, it's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Dave, let's go to running back now. Najee Harris making his debut. Played a little bit longer than I would have preferred, but overall a good showing. And, man, you just feel the power in his game. I mean, he was pushing the pile forward on almost every single carry. I mean, it was 2, 3, 4 Cowboys defenders to try to take him down. So it was, again, as advertised with him. That power, that leg drive, that finish, just constantly on display are all the traits that got him drafted.
Look, I mean, the overall stats won't scream at you there. 7 carries for 22 yards, though, but hard to get down on the ground. Always moving the pile forward there. I'd like that little run over to the right side. The one I probably should have been a face mask on that one as well too, over there. But I like the way he got to the edge over there. As advertised, right? I mean, caught one ball for I think 2 or 3 yards in that game as kind of a check down option to Mason early there. So carried a few people with him. Good to get that first action underneath his belt, and yeah, he got lathered up pretty good, right? I mean, was he in there all 18 snaps? I mean, it's pretty dang close to it if he wasn't, So good first action for him, and as advertised. I don't know what to add on to that.
And even as pass pro, there were 2 plays I saw that he got square, and it may not have been perfect, but it kept his quarterback clean. One of them was on play action, which can be tough for a running back because you got to execute the play fake, and then you got to find someone and pick him up. So showing that well-rounded skill set, and again, to me, just the finish that he showed was the most exciting part of his game Thursday.
Absolutely, good NFL debut for him.
Anthony McFarland, pretty quiet in his debut. Only 3 carries for 9 yards. I think he might have missed a hole on one of them. I'll have to go back and watch again, but pretty quiet for him. And then Balazs, again, that short yardage, the power, the goal line touchdown, a 4th-and-1 conversion. Didn't know they could do that. Apparently the Steelers are allowed to convert on 4th-and-1, so that's exciting. But again, all the things we just talked about top of the show. His career numbers are really poor. He's not a starter material, but he's got that really good backup value and someone that can be, if Harris is coming off a long drive and it's now 3rd and 2 or 4th-and-1 and you need a fresh set of legs to come in, Balazs, I think, can be that guy. And so I think he could really carve out a role as a short yardage runner in addition to being a strong pass protector, somebody who can catch a little bit and play on special teams for you as well. I saw he was the up back on the kick return team. He can be, someone that runs down kick and punts if need be. So he wears a lot of hats and does a pretty good job despite not having an immense ceiling.
There's one run I want to look at when it comes to McFarland, maybe missing something there. I don't want to comment too much on it until I get to watch it a few more times here. But once again, like I said at the top there, I thought overall, boy, how weird is it to see Jalen Samuels in a game that late like that? That's obviously not good for him in the pecking order there. But I thought top to bottom the running game was fine. What we saw out of the running back specifically, So
right. But our bar is so low that anything we'll take.
Right.
Did Derek Watt play in this game?
No, I don't think he did. Is
there a reason for that?
I mean, as banged up as he was last year, I think they all know him pretty well by now. Obviously,
do they? Because he was so banged up last year.
Well, Canada's worked with him at Wisconsin, and Eddie Faulkner knows him pretty. To me, why put him out there would be my point. I was not surprised that I did not see him. Let me put it to you that way.
Okay, I was a little surprised, unless it was some sort of injury. But Canada knew Anthony McFarland. McFarland played.
Yeah, but McFarland's still a young kid, though. He doesn't have any NFL action to him.
Yeah,
so
well,
I'm not surprised at all that. Speaking of which, here's the did not play list, at least according to NFL.com game book here. Roethlisberger, Boswell. Hooray for Boswell being held out of that game. Juju Smith-Schuster, Joe Hayden, Benny Snell, Terrell Edmonds, Trey Turner, Devin Bush, Kevin Dotson, Zach Banner, Chikwama Okorafor, Eric Ebron, Pat Freiermuth, TJ Watt, Stephon Tuitt, Tyson Alualu, Cameron Hayward. So they don't have Derek Watt listed on that, so we'll have to go see if we can pick him out on some special teams or maybe something like that, because they don't have the snap counts turned in yet here on this thing. So we'll have to see. Sometimes too, with all these multiple numbers running around, they might think one guy played when it actually didn't, because there's 2 44s on this roster as well. That's too. True. So that might be, and there might be another 3 or 4 guys that they're claiming played that like Melvin Ingram. You never saw Melvin Ingram out there, did you?
No, he did not play.
And they got him as logging some amount of snaps here, and trying to think who else they have on here. But that seems to be the bulk of it there, of the guys that did not play, and pretty much as expected, right?
Right. Most of those guys, veteran exceptions, except for, Benny Snell, Cody White, those guys, Freiermuth, were dealing with injuries.
All right. Back to anything to add about running backs?
I think that's about it there. I think Balazs, though, I think he's making the team, we'll see how things go the next couple of weeks, but I think he's making the team. And then I think he can jump Benny Snell, because he's going to have more value in that short yardage area that I think is going to appeal to this team.
Well, you still thinking that they're going to keep 4 running backs in total plus a fullback?
As of right now, yes, just partially because I don't know what other position I would give the extra spot to. Maybe an extra offensive lineman if I had to lean in a different direction right now. But yeah, I think 4 running backs is still where my head is at.
All right, so you're Najee Harris. You're talking about Anthony McFarland. You're talking about Kalen Balazs and
Benny Snell.
Okay.
But it's not a guarantee. I'm not gonna lock that in. But that's where I'm still at right now.
Still a long preseason to go here.
Sure.
All right. Where do you want to go to now? Tight ends?
Let's Yeah, let's go to tight ends. Again, Frymouth, Ebron.
Kevin Rader, baby!
That block he had on that Balaj touchdown, man, he was cooking up some pancakes on that one. And his blocking's nothing new, but it was great to see. He was pumped after that play. Gentry did play, which was good. I wasn't certain if he was going to play. He had a kind of a drop on a contested catch over the middle. I don't know how good of a blocker he was. But, yeah, Kevin Rader and Gentry battling out for that number 3 tight end spot.
And once again, until we watch this thing a couple more times here, there were 2 plays in particular. There was an early, I think, kind of split zone play with Rader coming left to right. I thought he did a good job with the block on that Najee Harris run, and then obviously and that was a 2 tight end situation there. Him and Gentry were in the game on that one, and then obviously the touchdown run by Balaj. I mean, those kind of things are going to show up in the film room, and that's going to get you an attaboy right there when you're putting people on their back near the goal line there. So Rader stuck out. Now didn't Gentry have a drop or one that maybe he should have had?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if you would call it a full-fledged drop, but it was a throw over the middle that kind of got broken up by the defender. I mean, it was one that, a guy of Gentry's size should have probably made that play.
Right. Outside of that, I didn't get to focus too much on Gentry's blocking yet, so I don't want to comment on that. Unfortunately, Pat Freiermuth did not play in this game, and but Marcus Baugh did play, and he had a penalty on him and
a drop
and I think a missed block. So that's not good for him.
Nope. But the focus is on Rader and Gentry. I still probably would have Rader ahead of Gentry right now, but that battle is going to continue on through the rest of August.
Right. I mean, there's no way to come out of this game and not think that Rader had the better game.
Yeah, he definitely had the better game over Zach Gentry, I would say. But we'll have to go back through and watch this thing a second and a third time. Wide receiver, Chase Claypool, the big play of the night. The only play, I think, 20-plus yards for this offense, the 45-yard reception, left sideline. He seems to be okay. Tomlin said he was fine after the game. Claypool was on the sidelines laughing, so I think he just got the wind knocked out of him or something. So
looked like he landed on the football or something.
Right. But a great catch by him. Happy to see that. Other than that, it was fairly quiet offensively for the receivers. Did anything stick out to you? Tyler Simmons with a touchdown, Deontay Johnson, a couple of catches early. That's about the most notable things from there, I think.
Tyler Simmons on the out route, right?
Yeah, it was a great throw by Dobbs. To beat the blitz, right on the money. Simmons turned his head, the ball was there, so a great play by Dobbs.
I told you during the contextualization that I did after Tyler got signed, the only thing that really stuck out with him as far as route nuances go was him getting a lot of those kind of shorter out routes there, and I'll be dang if he didn't score that way. But great timing between those two. Look, take your hat off and hand it to Dobbs, right? Because according to you, he doesn't get a lot of snaps in practice, and I think in so many words, Mike Tomlin praised him after the game as well too. Look, you guys always talk about Haskins and Rudolph and these other guys here, but I forget the exact quote, but this isn't Dobbs' first rodeo, and people try to write him off before, and he's ended up sticking. So kudos to him, coming in and being able to. I know it's late in the game. I know it's against mostly furniture movers and guys that aren't going to be on this roster, too terribly longer here. But he looked poised, he looked comfortable. I wanted to see him take another, or at least one or two deep shots down the field, and didn't get to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Haskins, but I thought Dobbs, did what he was supposed to do. And as far as wide receivers sticking out, other than that, unfortunately, it was mostly negative. You had Anthony Johnson had a short reception and put the football on the ground real quick. Good for Isaiah McCoy to be there and jump on top of it. Deontay Johnson, a double catch early. You don't like to see that. And then that drop we talked about early by Chase Claypool, you obviously don't like to see that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Just, quick note with the quarterback, some of those half boots. I mean, Dobbs is very effective at those, and Haskins is decently effective on some of those half rolls into the flat as well. So that's definitely in Dobbs' wheelhouse, and he's a preseason warrior and champion. So again, he just kind of answers the call every single summer. But with receiver, yeah, pretty quiet there. I would say the majority of the contributions came on special teams for some of those guys like a Matthew Sexton, who had that big punt return that is going to endear himself well to Mike Tomlin and Danny Smith.
Cheddar Bob, do you even get that reference?
No, I think you said that or someone said that. I have no idea what that means.
Character in 8 Mile. The Eminem. Do you know who Eminem is? Not the candy.
I do. Little green guy.
Okay, no, not
No?
that.
Not the chocolatey?
The rapper.
Okay.
Anyway, that movie 8 Mile. There's a character in there named nicknamed Cheddar Bob, and he's.
What does that have to do with Matthew Sexton though?
I guess they sort of look like. I've seen the side by side that's floating around. I don't get it, but I guess Mike Tomlin does, and he's the one that's kind of nicknamed him Cheddar Bob. So, but anyway, nice return by Sexton. That was kind of a for a preseason game. That was kind of a sparky kind of key moment in that game, right?
That's what Tomlin said, kind of a catalyst that jump-started an offense that had been pretty quiet. And, I mean, again, have to watch some of that. I think Norwood had a decent kind of airplane block on that one, but Sexton kind of did that on his own, just made a couple guys miss and showed that legit speed that he had and came one tackle away from house in that one. So, yeah, he was a guy that really didn't do punt returns in college, but the kick returns and is a pretty electric player, especially in a line, and so that was good to see.
Absolutely, I was really hoping to see a Dobbs deep ball to Sexton in this one. Hopefully, we'll see, because once again, one of the two main things stuck out to me on Sexton when going through his college tape, and that was, man, for a little guy, he sure can get down the field and make catches more than 20 yards down the field. And the second thing was for a guy his size, he can make some contested catches as well. So, and has a very little return experience overall. But I mean, what little he does have, it was on display. And Mike Tomlin has said in the past, boy, if you house one in the preseason, he's gonna be hard to keep off the roster, right? So looking forward to maybe him getting a couple more chances to return, kickoff or punts or whatnot.
Right, took advantage of the opportunity with Ray McLeod. Ray played in this one, but I guess he didn't get any return work, I don't believe.
Right, and Ray caught a pass more than 2 yards past the line of scrimmage in this game too.
That's exciting. Most exciting part of the passing game.
Right.
But so that's probably it for receivers. So let's move ahead to the offensive line, and it's probably tough for either of us to really accurately and fairly judge and evaluate this group, just not being able to rewatch this thing a couple times. So Kendrick Green got the start, the only projected week 1 starter to play and start in this game. So hopefully other guys get back for later weeks in the preseason action. Dan Moore, I thought Dan Moore at least had one really nice play in space on that Deontay Johnson screen left side. He got out there and threw a block in front. So definitely a good athlete. I'm not saying he had a good game overall. I'm not saying he had a bad game overall. I just saw that one play of him being able to get out in space. And that's going to be so important in this offense of the horizontal passing game, the screen game, the zone blocking game, offensive linemen who can move and are plus athletes. And I think Dan Moore is a plus athlete.
All right, roll through the left to right 2 units.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I have that off the top of my head right now. I tweeted out the first unit at one point. It was Moore, Finney, Green, Coward, and Joe Haig was the first team unit. And Coward has not gotten a lot of snaps at right guard. It's been predominantly left guard, so that was probably a little new for him overall because Trey Turner did not play in this one. Second team, I think it was Collins, Walton, Hassenauer, Chaz Green at right tackle, and I guess it would have been John LeGlue at right guard. Don't quote me on that, but I believe in my head that's how it probably
right.
Worked.
And it's so hard not going through this thing. My initial reaction, at least through the first quick rewatch, was I thought the starting 5 in that game played okay.
I think with Kendrick Green, I didn't see any big mistakes. Now, there might have been a block or two that wasn't perfect, but no bad snaps, no blitzes or stunts or any kind of disaster type plays. And so Mike Tomlin stressed that, making the routine plays routinely. I think Najee Harris did that. I think Kendrick Green did that.
Other than that, and I had written down the Dan Moore out in space as well too. Why don't we table that until Wednesday, that position group, because I haven't had a time to focus on it any deeper than just some surface notes here.
It looked like Joe Haig had a couple of decent run blocks, especially early, but just a thought in my head as I was kind of watching that one live.
Remind us to double back on the offense, probably the defensive line too.
Yeah, I was just going to say D-line probably about as tough to do. I thought Isaiah Loudermilk popped. I thought he got pressure, was getting off blocks. That was the big thing for me. Could he get off blocks, especially as a pass rusher? And I thought, again, on first glance, he did.
I thought both defensive tackles. I thought Buggs and Carlos Davis, when focused in on him, I thought they both represented themselves well in this game.
Mm-hmm. Right, and Buggs did run ahead of Davis. That was what we've seen in camp so far, but I thought both did play well.
And the starting, who were the starting three in that? It was Wormley, Mondeau, and Buggs, right?
Or no, it was Buggs. Yeah, you're right.
And then who was it was Davis, Loudermilk. I'm trying to remember who was the...
they rotate guys.
Yeah.
You have T.J. Carter in there, Calvin Taylor, Abdullah Anderson. I was happy Anderson got that sack.
I
was yelling at my TV like, "Push it, buddy, push it!" Because I saw he was so close. And again, that guy worked super hard, so I was happy for him.
All right, let's circle back to O-line and D-line on Wednesday. It's not hard to talk about the edges in this one, though, is it?
Yeah, the pass rush was on display. Alex Highsmith with the first sack of the game for Pittsburgh. Hopefully, the first of many he'll have in 2021. That inside spin is going to be a problem for tackles, Dave. When those guys overset and he starts winning with speed and he's able to counter to the inside. I don't want to call it Dwight Freeney, but it's the same idea that Dwight Freeney had, and that was super effective. He showed it last year. This year that he gets the sack. And
he talked about it after the game, talking about how he saw the tackle kind of respecting his get off. What do you think about? We didn't talk about this the other day about Alex Highsmith and the interview on Sirius that he gave. I wrote about it, and I wrote about it, and you wrote about it. Two different aspects of or things that he had said on. I think you worked on the conditioning part of what he had to say, and I talked about how he looked to get stronger and to work out of that work on his get off out of a 3-point stance more. And man, there didn't look to be anything wrong with his get off, in this game against the Cowboys last night. He played a little bit longer than what I thought he would play as well too. But he talked after the game about noticing that left tackle on that side was trying to respect his speed, his ability to get up the field a little bit, and he talked about how he's worked on trying to set up his pass rush moves and basically got the tackle to a little bit overcommit, overset, if you will, on that. And just, it looked very similar to, I think it was the game against the Colts last year, right, where he worked that inside move. And it was flawless, man. It really was a nice move to get that sack for Alex Highsmith, and that wasn't the only time. He had like two other, I think, pressures in that game as well too. And I think on the one that should have been maybe intercepted by Norwood, there he got some good pressure in there. So really, at least on the surface, looked stout on the point of attack. There was one play. I don't think he got the tackle on it, but I thought he did a good job of keeping contained and coming down backside of the line to get in. Maybe he got a half tackle on that one there, but top to bottom, I don't. He might have been a defensive player of the game for them. Just as far as preseason games go.
And we did the short film room breakdown on that sack this morning for Steelers Depot. And if you watched, as soon as that Cowboys left tackle flashes that inside hand, he spins. So he times it up really well. So as soon as the tackle punches, Highsmith spins and the tackle's unable to recover. Because if he spins too early, the tackle's going to be able to mirror to the inside and punch and probably be able to win that rush or stymie it to some degree. So really good timing. Yeah, good get off. And an outside, ghost move / speed rush with an inside counter and a little bit of power on the bull. That's going to be a great way and a great pass rush plan to win routinely for Alex Highsmith.
Yeah, I think now, we're just the things that we talked about with him. Just wait to see some of that speed to power. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he definitely he looks it on the hoof now. I'll tell you that. So interested to see as we get in, get moving forward in here to see him kind of win with that bull or with a long arm and all. We know he can rip. We know he can ghost move. We know he can spin. A fairly decent cross chop, right, with him
Mm-hmm.
as well. I mean. He's definitely working with one of the best there in T.J. Watt, and there's pictures, and you can see Watt definitely working with him in some of the still shots and all from training camp and all. So a very impressive night by Alex Highsmith for a first preseason game, and I was after that sack I was hollering to get him out of there, man. Cassius Marsh not an awful game over there on the other side. Over there. Now, the strip sack that he had was, not high quality, you wouldn't call it, because of the quarterback holding on to the football, but he still managed to get there, and he still managed to get the football out.
Yeah, he made the splash play, made the turnover, or near turnover, was recovered by Dallas. I thought all the edge guys were impressive. Jameer Jones, Quincy Roche with a sack, a great, dip and rip around the edge, and a great corner and finish on that one. So the pressure was heavy. They were sending a lot of blitzes, and the edge guys were winning routinely. And so all those guys came to play, and I think all those guys had a good night. I
think what had stuck out the most to me about into the third quarter, thinking, kind of what has been the biggest things that have stuck out to me in this game, it was the Steelers' overall pass rush. I mean, Highsmith and Roche and Marsh and Jameer Jones. I think it was it Jones that had one of them had the pressure on one of the interceptions that Steiner had there. I forget who it was there. I think it was Roche that had the pressure on that one. Okay. There, but pressure kind of forced. Helped play a part in that interception there. But one of the three things that has stuck out to me about three quarters through that game was, man, the pass rush overall was good in this contest.
Mm-hmm. It was, and I felt good to see Marsh and Jones have good performances. I always worry about that my camp reports can be like, Jones, this Jameer Jones guy looks great, and he's going to suck in preseason action. I was going to be like, Alex, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. So it felt good that Jameer Jones had a good showing because he's been doing that in camp almost every single day.
And I think it's worth maybe pointing out, to what degree, I don't know, but what value it has. But Jameer Jones, when he came in the game, he replaced Highsmith, and they left Marsh over on the left side. And then after Marsh left, they moved Jones over to the other side, and Roche played on the right side. So
that's interesting. I didn't notice that.
There is that aspect of it. We'll see what your charting says if Roche moved over to the other side any. I don't remember seeing him, but don't read too much into it. Allow us to do that. But I did notice Jameer Jones switch sides for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, he's still run ahead of Roche, and he's had a good camp and a good preseason performance. But Roche had a good showing with that sack as well. His hand use, his bend, all impressive. Because he's not going to win with elite physical tools, not with great strength or great athleticism or explosiveness or anything like that. But his hand use, his technique are going to be his ways to win at this level.
Sure would be nice to get all 22 of this, wouldn't it? We won't. But
no, I just want to get the game tape. Not get greedy here. Off-ball linebacker, I thought UG3 had some struggles. That third down missed tackle was an obvious one. He's got to make that play. I mean, they can get off the field and said that the Cowboys moved the sticks. Other than that, I mean, Spillane looked okay. I don't think it was a particularly good game for him. I don't have a whole lot of notes on the other off-ball guys. Do you, Dave?
No, I don't.
Buddy Johnson, he was active.
Buddy Johnson had a downhill play that stuck out, and also one out in space, I think chasing was it a screen or something, over coming towards the camera?
Yeah.
I had to go back and watch that again. But UG3 stuck out negatively, more than positively. Spillane with the coverage on the running back early. That running back just ran right away from him. What else stuck out? Buddy Johnson coming downhill made a play. Trying to think what else that stuck out to me. UG3 did have a nice rush on I guess it was a zone blitz on that early. Was it third down, second down? That caused I think it was second and goal early. That caused an incomplete pass there. So I want to make sure I give UG3 credit for that. But that once again. The closer you get inside there, the tougher it is without watching this game 3 or 4 times there. Mm-hmm. So, inside linebacker, probably something we might want to revisit before next Thursday.
And it was just one missed tackle from UG3, but it comes on 3rd and 12. It's got to
get him down, yeah.
Got to get him down. So one play, but a big one at that, and that's why we kind of really focus on that being negative there for him. All right, let's move to the secondary and cornerback. And just overall, the secondary for Pittsburgh was active. And I think that just kind of goes back to the guys they have, of course, but also just Terrell Austin's, teaching and preaching of being ball aware and ball hungry and making plays on the football, not just being content with tackling the catch or things like that. So, whether you're talking James Pierre, Justin Lane, Shakur Brown, Trey Norwood, Donovan Steiner, all those guys were making plays on the football to some degree. And so that was just good to see how competitive. Mark Gilbert, 2 breakups. How competitive that group was really impressive.
Right, and one of the highlights I think in the breakdowns that were done on site on Gilbert was the ability to make play on the ball. Right.
Yeah, size, length, Steven Denmark as well. I mean, so all these guys were having impact plays on the football, and all of them are using their length and their size, competing at the catch point, and Steelers have some big corners for sure, and some guys that play to their size.
And to look, Justin Lane had the pass interference in this. I think gave up. Got to do a better job of knowing where he's at. I think sometimes in the play and on the field. But he did. I'm not sure that was a complete pass. I don't know what you think about it, but he got that ball out of there, and it ended up being a turnover. So you have to go with what's there, right? And that counts as a turnover there. At least he played through that. And even if it wasn't a turnover, it's a pass breakup, Right. So a very, very positive sign when it comes to Justin Lane there. I thought Pierre played well. I thought all the corners didn't kind of represented himself well. Shakur Brown, 2 special teams tackles. Didn't see that one coming. And also I think he drew a hold on another trip down the field there on special teams there. So, you want to get yourself noticed, what we talk about all the time, right? I mean, especially the bottom end of the roster guys. You got to stick out on special teams, and there were a lot of guys that I thought I think Bundage even was in on 1 or 2 on special teams there, and Shakur Brown sticking out on special teams. But I thought the corners as a whole, and we'll see what a couple more tape runs say, but I thought as a whole, much like kind of the running back group, I thought the cornerbacks represented themselves well.
Not to be semantic about it, but I think Brown had 3 tackles and the holding call, and that was all in the second half. Like they were back to back, and so he was making an impact time and time again. Yeah, it was good to see Justin.
I had 2, and he was the one that drew that holding call. That's what I have in my notes here. But.
Yeah, I think there was a 3rd one after the holding call, but I'll go back and check it. Lane to get that forced fumble was a good finish, but the top of the route was ugly. He just has trouble flipping his hips and changing directions, and that's always kind of been his issue. So, I mean, good forced fumble, but the top of the route was not a good watch on my end.
Steiner being there in the right place on the overthrow. I mean,
I think he kind of jumped that route. When I watched it on the replay, it looked like the guy stepped in front of the pass.
Well, that's what I'm saying, being in the right place on the overthrow there. And, look, just make the play, man. Secure the football. And he did. Nice little return, I think, after it there. And Norwood should have if he had a little bit better break on that early one there, he probably would have had one on the Cowboys' first trip, I think, down in, after that turnover there. Norwood, not a big fan of hitting, though, I don't think. Kind of hesitant at time coming in, turning that shoulder instead of wrapping up on some of those hits there. So that's what I have in my notes about Norwood. Just like to see him be able to tackle a little bit better.
very high variance game for Trey Norwood. He has the near interception, which was awesome. Had the blocked field goal, which, I mean, he came in scot-free.
Was that him? That's another thing. I didn't see who. I tried to the quality of the video that I had. I tried to zoom it. For some reason, I thought it might have been Jameer Jones, but well, I guess it was Norwood off the edge, huh?
Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure at first, but then everyone was telling me Norwood, and I went back and watched a replay a little bit later, and he came in free. So I'm like 90% sure he did get it. So, I mean, he came in free, but it was still a great play. So I'm still happy about that. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't even the fact that he would throw the shoulder. There was that one play, I think, in the right flat where he just like is backpedaling as the back's coming towards him. And I'm not saying that he's scared of it, but he just might be worried about missing the tackle or allowing a big play or something like that. But yeah, he's got to come downhill. He's got to be physical and make that play. So that's the worry with him because, again, the splash plays are nice, but if he's going to have a role in this team early, it's going to be on special teams covering kicks and punts, and you got to be physical. You got to come downhill, and you have to be aggressive. And I thought Norwood was just too timid attacking the football downhill last night.
Miles Killebrew might grade out was one of the better defensive players in this game, to be honest with you.
He's the opposite. He's not going to make a pass breakup or an interception ever, but he's going to make the tackle every single time. Very Jordan Dangerfield-like in that sense, and that's kind of the replacement, I suppose. But, yeah, that guy does not miss a tackle.
Who had the Pierre? I think, was it Pierre that had the pass breakup that the ball went up in the air and Killebrew almost had the pick on?
Yes.
Was that it?
I believe. I know what play you're talking about where Killebrew dove and just missed it. I think it was Pierre, but I'll have to go back and watch.
Okay, all right. I'm like I said, I'm willing to bet when we go back through this thing a little bit slower, Killebrew and Alex Heisman might be the two highest graded defensive players in this game. I don't know. We'll see.
I think so. From the slot battle, Brooks got the start, had a couple good run defense. I thought Millette got picked on a bit in the passing game. I mean, all those guys
got ran away from one time, I know for sure, on kind of an over type route there. Brooks, I thought, stuck out more to me in the run game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, had one. He came in backside and dove in and cut out the running back's legs, and so that was a good play, kind of what his skill set is. So that battle's ongoing, and again, Pierre's in the mix. There's a lot of different combinations of how this nickel and dime defense could look and go. I think those battles are still ongoing.
All right. How about some special teams? That was really a big talking point coming out of that game. A lot of positive coming out of that game when it comes. Other than Sloman, thanks for coming. Here's your supply of turtle wax here. But other than that, I mean, boy, Presley Harvin III, huh? How about that kid?
I love fourth down. I want the teams to just never convert on third down now because I want to watch number 6 just boom some punts. I mean,
you shut your mouth, Alex Kozora. Wishing for that.
You could not have a better performance in a debut than Presley Harvin III. I mean, 4 punts. His first 3 land at the 10, the half-yard line, and the 11, the 4th, rolls and bounces off of the return man, recovered by Anthony Johnson. So, I mean, the consistency, the hang time, the placement, the yardage, the net. I mean, it was the holds. I mean, it was just awesome for big old number 6.
He sure is weird looking him back there.
I know. I love it. He can look whatever he looks like.
I know.
Like that, I don't care what he looks like.
Look, 6. What is he? 6'1", maybe 245.
Maybe.
I mean, you get that tight end line get a little bit short there. You never know. Just so weird seeing a guy with his kind of body style back there, especially when it's a rear camera view. But he brought it. So far so good. He was booming them, and 3 inside the 20, right?
3 inside the 11. It was the 10, the half-yard line, which was just an absolutely gorgeous punt, and then the 11. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good for him.
And no returns. Man, we'll get hang times and stuff on that, but the hang times felt solid and the holds look good. So Jordan Berry, he's in trouble. It's not over yet, but he's in trouble.
Right. Well, it is to me, it's Harvin's, and it really has been since he's been drafted. It's his job to lose, I think. I mean, you go back, and this team very easily parted the ways with Berry last year, right after the preseason, and it quickly found out that was the wrong decision based on what was out there. But not that it's just the bar is kind of low here, but I mean Harvin was cleared the bar with room to spare, as they say.
And someone else had said this. I thought it was a really good point. It blows my mind on that punt that landed at the half-yard line. How did Harvin have that ball bounce at the half-yard line 3 times and not go into the end zone? Just bounce straight up 3 times. I mean, really incredible stuff. It's not even like a rugby-type punt or anything unusual like that.
Like a golf shot.
Yeah. I mean, it really
like a
was.
wedge, like a 60-degree wedge or something like that.
Yeah, so again, you got to see it the next game. I mean, if he bombs the next game, no one's going to care about what happened, last night. But could not have a better start for Presley Harvin III.
Yeah, and I couldn't find, it's hard to watch the Gunners and all like that on the TV tape and all like that. So had to go back and try to more closely examine that.
And as you said, just overall, some splash plays on special teams, whether that's a blocked field goal, a punt, a fumble recovery on a punt. Harvin obviously doing a great job. Shakur Brown, good kick coverage overall. No penalties. Overall for this game, offense, defense, special teams, a very clean game for the Steelers. Not a lot of missed tackles, not a lot of penalties, not a ton of sloppy play overall, especially for first preseason game. Only had a couple of practices so far. So just overall a very clean performance. And a fundamental performance for Pittsburgh, which was really impressive to see top to bottom.
I think the things that stuck out the most negatively when it comes to the Steelers' offense in this game, obviously the early botched fumble there by Rudolph, the double catch by. Because of his history with Deontay and putting the ball on the ground, didn't like to see that kind of early double catch, if you will. The drop by Claypool, and really that's about the throw behind. Maybe the throw behind Washington by Rudolph, and then the maybe a couple of drops by the two tight ends. That's really on the negative only thing's really on the negative ledger, I think, when it comes offensively, at least from what I've seen so far. We'll dig into the offensive line, obviously, a little bit more as the week goes on. Defensively, a couple of runs up the gut, probably got to do a better job there. Obviously, the UG3, there were a few times where they probably should have had the guy on the ground quicker at the second level and beyond there. Other than that, and then Sloman missing some of them kicks you'd like to see him make. That's about what I have there.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was preseason and the Cowboys had their own issues, but you held the Cowboys to 3 points an entire game. I don't care if that's preseason, regular season, whatever the case is. That's tough to do, even for an opener like that. So kudos overall to this defense.
For a Hall of Fame game and seeing getting that deep into rosters. I thought it was an entertaining game. Of course, we starved for football, and I mean, you give me a cracker. Is that a Ritz cracker?
I was going to make that joke earlier. Yeah, the Eddie Murphy joke.
I mean,
saltine.
Yeah, it probably could have been anything. We'd be just because so starved for it, and obviously would it be the Steelers on top of it. And look, I don't care how it happens. Anytime the Steelers beat the Cowboys, I don't care if they're playing a game of Chinese checkers or whatnot. It's always a great time. So
were you more excited? Because I was really excited for last night's game. Like I got into that game. I loved it. Regular season games last season.
I mean, I got right into the live tweet, all of it. Yeah, give me all of it there. And the most look, I admit it. I think all three of us had it. And shout out to Daniel Kitchens too, one of our new guys, kind of helping in the post game kind of process. That adrenaline of mine was flowing right after the game, and it gets kind of knocked down there when you try to go over to Game Pass and you.
Oh, don't ruin it.
Because, normally what people don't understand is, man, the machine right after the game ends is rolling at Steelers Depot there. And part of that, too, is, man, a lot of us diving right into to some of the game tape right away. And we could not do that last night. Now, fortunately, NFL.com has, all the all the Dwayne Haskins throws, and they got some good highlights up on there. But there's certain things that you want to go back and just see right away, and you can't do that. So if there was the biggest negative out of the games, the whole game situation and process last night, is that we still aren't able to dive deep back into this game, and you and I hate doing podcasts and not having to do them at 30,000 feet, I guess, so our apologies on that, and hopefully we covered this game as best we could with what we have out there right now.
Yeah, I think we did a good job. I'll pat ourselves on the back, and I'll be covering this one over the next week or so. And the Steelers back at training camp on Saturday, and the Hall of Fame festivities are this weekend. It was great to see Bill Cowher. He was on the sideline last night talking with Mike Tomlin. That was pretty cool.
Having a good time, sharing a moment.
Donnie Shell, Faneca. According to Stan Savarin, Troy's quarantine, I believe, ends today. So he was not at the game last night, but it does sound, and I'm not saying this as a guarantee, I don't know the particulars, obviously, but it does sound optimistic that he'll be there for Saturday.
And I've said how many times during this podcast that we'll look at it on Wednesday. I mean Monday already.
Well, we'll be looking at it on Wednesday as well.
But hopefully we'll have a lot more runs through the tape by Monday, and obviously we'll recap the Hall. Look, we got a game in the books now, and a great Saturday on tap here. So life is good right now, obviously. Now, real quick, anything kind of, you've been to all these training camp practices, did anything surprise you, I guess, overall?
In terms of seeing something different in this game that I didn't see in camp?
Maybe a guy that, has everything kind of loosely seemed to match? And it usually does. I'm just asking if anything maybe stuck out that you thought, oh, okay.
Loosely, yes. Again, I'm sure there are some particulars that will surprise me. I thought Bundage was a little quieter than what I thought. I know Tomlin praised him on special teams, but I'll have to go back and check that. I don't want to sound super narcissistic and say that everything I saw matched up perfectly, because I'm sure it didn't, but nothing really coming to mind right now. I mean, the receivers were quieter. I was looking for somebody to make a play on offense, but that was about it.
Rank the quarterback play.
I mean, it's pretty close. You can kind of argue it, I think, any way you want. I'll go Dobbs, because he threw the touchdown pass. I mean, he the only guy on the night that did it, and for how few reps he gets, I mean, that's such a tough situation, even being a veteran guy. So I'll go Dobbs, and then, I mean, it's close. I'll go Dobbs, Rudolph, Haskins, and I'm only putting Haskins third because he didn't have the big play. Dobbs had the touchdown. Rudolph had the completion to Claypool. I thought Haskins played fine and took what the defense gave him, but he didn't produce that big play.
Right, and I just was hoping to see him push from all the talk of him being able, the completions down the field. I was hoping to see him air that thing out.
You could tell he was trying to do it, but there just was nothing available, and so he was having to hit his check down. That was a great play on the left side to Anthony Johnson, where he's looking downfield, never even looked at Johnson, but knew he was there, and then as soon as the pressure came, he dumped it off to him. So, I mean, his awareness, I thought, was strong last night. Yeah,
a little 3/4 arm motion there. And, unfortunately, Johnson put that ball on the carpet or on the ground there. But, all right, we will get back after this again. Let me get this straight on Monday then. Anything else you'd like to add? Did we miss anything?
Are there any reader emails, any late emails coming about the game last night?
That's a good point there. Maybe we should get to some of these here. Hold on. Let me
guessing. One or two people.
Yeah, there are a few of them in here. O-line improvement. Hello, basement bloggers. Do you think the O-line should be improving at a faster rate since they're practicing against top-tier defensive line, Hayward and Tuitt, and not to mention Watt? Well, enjoy your weekend. This from Andreas and Tone. For starters, Tuitt and Watt aren't practicing yet. Secondly, how many starters did not play in this game? Okorafor, Dotson. Maybe he's just talking overall. Should the O-line be improving at a faster rate? there's a lot of great players in the NFL other than Hayward, Tuitt, and Watt.
Sure. I will say that
on
was
the Steelers. Yeah.
I think that was one surprise. The O-line in pass pro did better than what I thought they would probably do. I thought it'd be kind of a mess last night, and they did all right. To the question, sure. I think there's a benefit to that when a guy like Rashad Coward faces Hayward every single day, then he goes into a preseason game facing the Cowboys backup, whoever it is. That's probably a lot easier matchup for him. So I think there is a benefit to it. But I'm not going to pretend like that's going to solve all the problems and make you good. Because if you're bad, you're going to be bad against Hayward. You can be bad against whoever you're facing, week 1 against Buffalo. So it's not the cure-all, but I think it does help.
Style Bender writes in, do you guys think they can sign another tackle? Joe Haig should never see the field, and Harvin looked like a great addition. I mean, they're not. I'd be surprised, barring injury, if they add another tackle at this point. And you dang sure don't want Chaz Green in there. Maybe I missed a negative on Joe Haig that Style Bender saw. It's one of those things that we'll have to go back through and watch the O-line a little bit closer when we get a copy there. So evidently Joe Haig probably had a player or two that Style Bender didn't like. So Haig's going to be in there. Haig's going to be on this roster barring injury. I hate to tell you that. And as far as Harvin goes, yeah, Harvin looked like a quality punter last night.
Here's the other quick side note that was interesting last night. Steelers had an 88-man roster last night because they did not replace the spots of DeMarcus Acey and Anthony Coyle, plus all the guys who didn't play for injury or rest. They were kind of playing with a shorthanded group. So 2 open roster spots. We'll see who they sign. I imagine those signings will occur today because they got 2 open roster spots to play with.
Absolutely. So either today or tomorrow. In the meantime, stay tuned to SteelersDepot.com and anything. Those are the only emails I have. So with that, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar. Alex and I will really start tearing into this thing a little bit more on Monday, and who knows, maybe our thoughts will change on a couple things that we've already looked at once we get a better look at the tape there. So within that, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.